deck, a Bant colored stasis deck. So that's what I'm going to put him on for this one. This is obviously a pretty strong hand. I'll definitely keep it. Any hand with a mana crypt is obviously pretty strong for PO. Well, you see, rated. The match system likes me more, clearly. Alright, I'm excited, Anti-Rush. Good luck, have fun. I don't know if I've ever seen Anti-Rush comment in Twitch chat besides, hey, I'm leaving. This is called Streamer Perks. Yeah. Oh, so Scalding Tarn, I don't know if there was a Scalding Tarn in their list, because I'm pretty sure they were base green when they were playing Stasis, so it might not actually be Stasis anymore. Here, we actually don't have any like super strong plays as we're missing another artifact for Metalcraft, so we're just going to Ancestral, or we're going to go Merchant Scroll and find Ancestral, I think. There's some options here with, say, maybe taking another Force of Will, but I think I'd rather just have an Ancestral. Some sweet lines that could come up next turn are like Ancestral, draw land and off-color Moxen, play Narset. So there was a Tundra in there. Okay, so I don't think we're on Stasis anymore. It looks like I don't know. Anti-Rush doesn't usually play stock Jeskai, so we'll have to see if they have some spice or not. Narset, huh? Well, I'm definitely going to regret if I get forced back here. All right, we're very lucky to not get forced back. I pitched one of my 2 draw spells. Obviously, the one that was a little bit harder to cast, because if the Narset did resolve, obviously my draw spells are blanked. We're pretty far from casting Dig Through Time, but if we were to get Narsetted, we're running out of answers, obviously. So, yeah, we have enough mana to pay for days, so let's just start with an Ancestral. Might get Force of Negation. Did not get Force of Negation. Well, now we're just going to jam PO. Do I want to play around Days? I'll play around Days. It's been a lot of Dazes happening online recently. Alright. I wish we did had that second... Oh, we drew a second PO. Never mind. I don't think we currently have the card quantity... the Moxen quantity to go off enough to Grape Shot. That is one of the downsides of Grape Shot, is that although it's easy to cast, it takes a large amount of Storm to be lethal. So here we just drew a bunch of cards, get to play a Narset, get us basically just Xerox a little bit. There was definitely some merit to not playing PO and starting with Narset, so then later POs could have Narsets alongside them. I'm not super big on that. Here, I think I want a top. And I guess a top will let me spin into a blue card, so we should probably just take a top then. So obviously we got our Storm count to 13, but we're not able to Grape Shot. That's fine. I'm not really worried about it. We have a full grip of 7. We have a Narset in play, like a ton of mana. It's pretty reasonable. You don't really always just have to kill them right away. So we still don't really know what our opponent's on. All we saw was Jeskai Xerox thing. So I'm going to board like I would board against Jeskai. And so what I've been doing is we board into Turbo Managorge or Hydra. I board in these 8 Magic the Gathering cards, and I board out 3 of my Paradoxical Outcomes, my Grape Shot, my Hurkyl's Recall. I board out Wheel of Fortune. I board out some Opals. So I minimize the effect, trying to minimize the effect of Shattering Spree by boarding out Opals. Obviously, Wheel can be a bit of a liability versus opposing Narsets. Twister's powerful enough that I'd like to keep it in. And then cutting what ends up typically being a dead card a lot of the time. It's very hard to win a counter war over a paradoxical outcome when opponent is playing Pyroblast. So we're trying to not do that, where opponent or our main threats that we're turboing out are actually green instead of blue. And so this is the plan I've been doing, and this is the reason I played this deck instead of regular paradoxical outcome at TMD. Is I thought that this sideboard plan actually gave me a good enough matchup versus Xerox post board, whereas playing normal PO left me feeling like I could never win. So we'll see how Turbo Managorger Hydra goes. Opponent knows our list because they were in chat, so they probably don't board out as many Swords to Plowshares as a normal player would. But the hope is that you win a game 1 versus Xerox, and then they board out some Swords to Plowshares, which makes it harder for them to deal with a resolved Managorger Hydra. This hand obviously looks like a Xerox hand, has no acceleration, but I think it's obviously still fine. I would probably never keep this without knowing my opponent's deck. Like, if this was just a game 1 in the blind, like, this hand is not good enough for vintage. In my opinion, obviously Xerox players would disagree. Please just work. Oh my god. Alright, well, we got 3 cards. They're just gonna refresh their 3 cards, I guess. Alright, you are back up to 6. I'm not 100% sure if opponent is on Wastelands or not. Doesn't really hurt us to lead Island here. We don't have another blue spell, so I'm definitely not going to take Force, but I will take up the other Preordain as we're trying to build towards this. This hand obviously is weak to just about everything, so if opponent does anything crazy, we're in a pretty bad spot, but like a standstill here or something, that's fine. Don't care too much about a Lavinia with our current hand. I mean, we now care about a Lavinia. I mean, I did bottom it, but unfortunately it came back. God, I mean, jeez. If our opponent Xerox is out, we're obviously going to lose the game, but I really wish we had like 1 Moxen so that I could play 1 this turn. All right, I'm gonna go with it. I don't really know if that's correct, but so if opponent obviously follows up with like a Snap Ancestral, I'm gonna have a hard time believing we're gonna win this game, but. This is just incredibly slow. I mean, I obviously mean having a Moxen in play, not a Moxen in my hand. Like, our opening hand had 0 acceleration, that is what I'm lamenting. Though our deck is now a Xerox style, you know, more of a Xerox style deck, or not even a Xerox style, but more of like a mid-rangey blue deck. I still am trying to be a Turbo Hydra. I'm still trying to play Hydra ahead of Curve because it's too colorless. It allows my Moxen to be played. Can I not draw that, though? Ugh. I'm going to leave the fetch line in case we draw Brainstorm. I should not have played... this probably doesn't matter. Like, it's still vintage. I don't want to be, like, just playing a 3-drop on turn 3. Unfortunately, I have no Moxen follow-up, so I'm weak to a Lightning Bolt here, and I just can't do anything about it. But, I mean, we have backup Hydras, so... Oh boy. Hydra is not... Hydra beats... Oh, wow, that's a draw. Hydra beats Young Pyromancer, but Hydra doesn't typically beat Monastery Mentor. It can. It absolutely can, but it doesn't typically. My opponent's on a pretty normal list. I'm pretty surprised. We're looking good, though. Oh, looks like we're going to finally get Pyroblasted here. Oh, never mind. There's a Swords to Plowshares. No, there's a Spell Pierce. Let's see. Well, I didn't play around that. There have been a lot more spell pierces recently, but I still can't bring... I could have led with Ancestral to play around spell pierce, but now my Hydra can't get bolted, so there are some upsides. This Hydra is already on 3 counters, so if a lightning bolt targets it, it will go up to 4 counters. Definitely swinging here. We need... Well, oh man. Yeah, no, I have to swing here, or else we will never win the race. So, 13-13, opponent gets the first crack in here. I can obviously chump with a Hydra if things get too dicey. Narset's annoying, because that's 2 spells. But every spell opponent casts that doesn't kill me does make my Hydras bigger. Opponent's really just looking for Swords to Plowshares off their Narset. That's the best card in their deck. They got Dak Faden, that's not very good. We're actually always going to have our Hydra be able to block Mentor too, because it's 1 bigger. Yeah, see, like, we don't even care about a Null Rod right now. This is really good for us. They can't attack. So we just need to make sure these become lethal threats somehow. That's a good way to do it if we were not drawing 0 cards. Let's see. If we play a Mana Gorge or Hydra, I don't want them to have the ability to play any spells. So currently we only deal 13 damage. That's not good enough. So do we just... We play our Mana Gorge or Hydra. We're just going to swing in with our Mana Gorge or Hydras at them and make them block. I guess we are playing just Mana Gorge or Hydra Brainstorm. I'm not going to play this Brainstorm until combat, and I'm going to play this Flooded Strand so that it's 1 less card that we're unfortunately putting on top of our deck. Obviously, we'll fetch away our Force of Will, but we're going to draw no cards with our Brainstorm, but that's going to be fine. All at Anti-Rush for sure. It's fine. It's a spell. It's an instant speed spell, so it actually makes the math a lot harder for our opponent. Our opponent typically here, we have, 14 damage, so they'd like block with 1, but now we can just Brainstorm and kill them. Alright, so just playing Hydras on turn 3, 4, and 5 was good enough. We just had to draw 2 1-mana spells with them. So that was the idea. This is the reason that I brought this deck to TMD. I thought that this plan would be good enough to beat Jeskai. Enough of the time. So. Sweet. So yeah, that was the whole idea. The whole idea was that I would... Obviously, PO was garbage with that draw. The opponent had a Null Rod that didn't do very much. But we were able to get there anyways on the back of some heads. Some green heads.